Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us once again. Do us a favor, help us grow the YouTube channel and smash that subscribe button below. It really helps. And leave on the notifications. That's pretty cool, too. That also helps grow the channel. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
Yeah, you can find us, Ray Benny Sports. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Check us out also on Reddit and Discord, and leave us a rating on your favorite podcast provider.
We got some Bombers talk and we got some Jets talks, but let's start off with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And Bomber Talk brought to you by Fahrenheit Airbrushing. Stand out on the ice, pavement, field, or in the stands with a custom airbrushed helmet, goalie mask, or any project. A local Manitoba business with affordable solutions. Check out Fahrenheit Airbrushing on Facebook or call them at 204-891-7431.
And don't forget to tell them that Ray and Benny sent you.
What do the Bombers need to do to sweep the Elks? Offense, defense, special teams. First thing, you can start with offense, but I'm just going to throw in, they got to take advantage of this home field. It's a sellout again at Princess Auto Steel. I'm still puzzled as why they didn't continue that. Let's continue the sellout streak going into the new season from last year. Remember they had like a 6-game sellout streak going on before that, going into the playoffs. And anyway, I'm just rambling, but take advantage of the home field. Like I'm hoping it's buzzing like it was in Banjo Bowl 2023. I don't expect a 50-point game, but if they can get out the gates quickly with this sellout crowd, they can just drown out the Elks from the start. So that's one thing I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? You got 30 plus thousand people there, and for the most part, it's all going to be Bomber fans, right? There's Elks fans here and there, but they don't travel like Saskatchewan fans would be to Winnipeg kind of thing. So it's going to be full of Bomber fans. You have to disrupt that Edmonton offense for sure, and it'll obviously help the Bomber offense because it'll be a lot quieter on that field. Speaking of that offense, goodness gracious, like they won the game last game, right? They beat the Elks. They kind of got it going in the second half, but that first half offensively was pretty putrid, to say the least. They got to figure it out. You had 6 turnovers in that game, and it took you to the 5th or 6th turnover to finally score some points, 4th or 5th or whatever it was. So that if the defense can create those opportunities for you and give you short field position, finish those off. That they got to figure this out now. And I don't know what they figured out in the second half. Maybe it's more Brady Oliveira finally. But again, we've talked about this. This has to be a Brady Oliveira offense right now. Carlos and his receivers, O-line, something's just not clicking there. And I don't know if it's the loss of Dalton Schoen, which was his security blanket for the last couple seasons, but something's not clicking. So get the focus on Brady Oliveira early, pound that Edmonton D, and then, you know what, maybe that'll open up the pass enough that you can make some throws here and there. But the offense has to finish this time.
I think the O-line's actually playing really well. Shout out to them. Zach Collaros got sacked one time, kept him pretty clean in the pocket, and they clearly gave Oliveira some rushing lanes. He averaged 7.1 yards a carry. Continued to roll with Brady Oliveira. You know, last week, or for most of the year, frankly, I've been preaching that they give this guy the ball 20 times a game, whether it be 15-5, 18-2. This game was 19-1. This week, this week is 18 for 2. 18 carries, 138 total. That's 6.9 per touch, 6.9 yards per touch. And that helped also the Bombers win the battle of possession by 7 minutes. So they got to just continue rolling with Oliveira, continue going with that O-line. Collaros found 7 different receivers. He spread out the ball, but they got to score. I really thought they're going to break that 30-point mark or 35-point mark. You know, they might have if Castillo would have hit that 49, or was it 53 and 55 that he missed? Yeah, that's crazy. Long distance ones. You can't hate on the guy for that. Like, they just got to get in deeper into, and that's with respect to Edmonton's defense. They have been playing very well over their winning streak as well. So no disrespect. Edmonton had a good defense. They had a good defensive plan to start at the beginning of the game as well. But yeah, if Collaros can continue to spread the ball around, and hopefully they can get the long ball going and with the play action. Because if they're looking to look at what's his name, the running back, Brady Oliveira in the backfield, and you're looking for the run, that's got to have a big pass or big play somewhere, because your longest is 25-20. Not bad, but it doesn't really scare the opposition in regards to putting more points in the board and having the cover deep. I'm having a tough time talking. It's midday. This is a split work day.
It's early.
It's too early later. Oh my goodness. But anyway, yeah, and it's early and it's a different day, so I can't talk. But any which way, I think they can even score more points this week, and I hope they can really use the play action.
Yeah, I mean, you say it, and we know Edmonton's D coming into this do not give up a lot of points. They give up usually a lot of yards, but not the points. But when you get that many turnovers from your defense, you need to be catching those in, right?
Yep.
And you're looking at that going, what was there, 3 or 4 turnovers in the first half, and it was still only 3-0.
Yeah.
If you're playing a better team, eventually that they possibly come back and win that game, right? Or take over that game. I'd like to know, and I couldn't find the stats, and maybe someone could let us know where you could possibly find something like this. Oliveira's numbers compared to the first half to the second half, and carries compared to that, because it always seems like it's less Oliveira in the first half, and then it's like, okay, we need to go to Oliveira in the second half, and there's more of that. I was trying to find to see what the kind of the trade off was in both halves, but I couldn't. But yeah, if you're doing that, Oliveira early, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe that allows these guys to back off a little bit, and opens up some receivers, or they're gunning to stop Oliveira, which then opens up the receivers. So yeah, we need to see more of this offense. You're getting crunch time. It's 14 games into the season, and this offense is still kind of sputtering here and there. They've only scored over 32 times this season against Saskatchewan and Calgary, and that's crazy to me,
Yeah.
because this offense is pretty much the same guys, couple different guys on O-line. It should be flying all over the field, but it has struggled. So hopefully they can get it going, because you got a stretch run. You got some big games coming up. They got to win 3 out of these 4 basically to finish first.
Win this week and they're in the playoffs. Get
Yes,
that out of
clinch.
the way.
Yes, yeah.
Get that out of the way. Defense. Well, now that they don't have to worry about Tre Ford, they won't have to have a guy spying on him. So hopefully that'll open up a guy to be in the coverage and give 3 last names, McLeod, Bethel, Thompson, a bit harder of a time to break down that coverage and find the open man. I really like the delayed blitz, or the time blitzes that the Bombers are using. They send 3 or 4 to collapse a pocket and then send a linebacker, because I think both sacks were by linebackers this week. So I hope I see more pressure like that. Like shout out to Jordan Younger. He had a tight game plan, really minimized Tre Ford's legs and force him to make those tight throws. And you won't get that this week. You'll have a more composed McLeod Bethel Thompson. So I'd like to see what Jordan Younger comes up with that. And I assume that they'll be sending a little more pressure to McLeod Bethel Thompson now that they don't have a guy spying Tre Ford.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because it'll be more like playing Trevor Harris, right? The guy's he's going to be in the pocket. If you give him enough time, he's going to find his guys. And we know McLeod Bethel Thompson can do that. Yes, he'll make mistakes here and there, but he will find his guys, especially if they're open. Whereas with Tre Ford, he's probably rushing things a little bit, going through things a little bit too quickly because he's still quite raw, right? And I'm actually surprised they didn't run Tre Ford more. 2 runs? I know their running game was very good for Edmonton, and that's one place where this defense needs to shore up, because what was it? Rankin had 150 something yards, 157. So yeah, I mean, you can't give up that many yardage and that much yardage on the run or on the ground and hope to win that game again, right? Especially when this game was close. I'm surprised the Elks couldn't take it over, but again, Tre Ford, the Bomber D came up big, right? There's 10. The Bombers came at a half, scored that touchdown right away, and you're thinking, okay, the offense is going, but then the defense gave it up. It's 10-10, and the Elks have a chance to take over this game. And Ford makes a mistake, throws an interception. Great play by Tony Jones, I believe, right? For that interception, which basically flipped the game at that point. It was all Bombers from there. So D played well, obviously created a lot of turnovers. Hey, if you can do that again, chances are you're winning this game. Tony Jones, fantastic in the middle there, taking over for Big Hill. Michael Ayers, who started this game for Kyrie Wilson at the last second. We were expecting Kyrie Wilson to come back and play. Now is back on the 6-game injured list. So yeah, they can continue to play as well as they have. The defense is going to give the offense a chance to win this game.
Kyrie Wilson. I hope I didn't jinx that.
You did say he was out, then he came back, and then he went back out. So
that was just a fan opinion.
He's just
man, with the injury he has and with Tony Jones, I just had a feeling, but that's not a good feeling to have now. Special teams, what they got to do?
I guess same thing. I mean, Castillo, he's too far field. When you continually kick beyond 50, especially in the CFL, eventually you're going to miss some of those, right? And Castillo's had a very good season beyond 50. Yeah. I don't think I've ever remember a kicker for the Bombers kicking that many field goals beyond 50 before in a season. Unfortunately, got a little unlucky with those 2 doinks. Jake Julian was great punting for Edmonton, 61.8 average. That is crazy. So yeah, just keep doing what they're doing. Castillo usually, after not necessarily a bad game he had, but a game like that, he usually bounces back and ends up being perfect the next game. So continue on, and then just their coverage game was pretty good again.
Yeah. Like, and he almost hit that 55 yarder, went off the upright.
The same spot, apparently, right?
They gotta find a way to bust the punt open and flipping the field. Yes, the offense has to move the ball, but also they have to find a way to flip the field with the return game. Like when a guy is kicking the ball 61 yards, you know you have time to set up the block somewhere and find a hole. One of those times.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm just hoping that they, because I really like the aggressive way Lucky Whitehead is returning the ball. He's either doesn't give a dang, he's running someone over, or he sees a hole and he's committing to it and he's going hard. Either way, I like it. And something's got to give against that punt and the huge punts that Bombers should have time. So I'm hoping that this week Lucky Whitehead can bring one back on the Elks, or at least flip the field, get a 20, 30 yarder, a couple of those.
It's funny though, because he must not be fully healthy because he doesn't practice much during the week. He's on the injury reports every week, kind of thing. Then he ends up playing the game, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
something's got to be ailing him there. But I mean, there's really the other two guys that tried this year at returner didn't do very good. So Lucky's still probably your guy.
What's that impressed you most from the last game? Well, 6 turnovers for me. The
Yeah.
defense was all over the ball against a team that led the league in takeaway giveaways. So 6 turnovers. That's impressive. That was very impressive.
Yeah, I talked about it a lot last week about the Elks defense and the turnovers. And what did they get against Calgary that time? 7, I think I
5,
said.
something like that.
No, Calgary, or sorry, they had 12 in the 2 games against Calgary. So yeah, I agree with that, but I'm going to go with Tony Jones, and it's multiple stats: QB sack, interception, fumble recovery, and a pass knockdown. What a game for that guy! Unbelievable coming in and making your first start. I know he had a chip on his shoulder because this is the team that cut him earlier in the season. So
Hell
you want to
yeah.
go out there and prove to these guys, hey, you made a mistake, and he definitely did it. And it couldn't come at a bigger time, right? Because Big Hill is out for the season. We got that bad news, and you're like, oh my God, how are they going to fill in? And obviously,
Yep.
Tony Jones is not Adam Bighill, and this is only one game so far, but a good first step for him, and hopefully he can continue and do it again this week.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah, because I mean, it'll make Big Hill being out, it'll make it easier, obviously, right? Because that linebacker crew, without Kyrie Wilson too, which we were hoping he'd be back, it's pretty bare. And Cramdy is really starting. Did he start last year? Or is this his first year really starting in that position, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty raw, and I guess you'll see that sometimes with the running game getting 160 yards almost for the Elks. So yeah, good. It's good.
Bombers started 0-4. What do you think is the biggest factor in the turnaround?
I got to go with the defense, and the defense has played well pretty much all season. They haven't given up a lot of points in games, but they've kept these games close enough and low scoring enough. Because,
Yeah.
like I said, the offense has only scored over 32 times, and a bunch of times in the low 20s. So the offense is still kind of in the starting gates almost. So the
Yeah.
defense has given the opportunities, kept scores low, and now they're starting to create turnovers as well, which helps the offense hopefully. So yeah, I'm going to say the defense has been another step up in another season where we're relying on the defense to be good.
Yeah. Again, shout out to Jordan Younger. He's calling some good defenses. I'm sure Richie Hall also has a little bit of input on that. Speaking of coaches, I'm going to go with Mike O'Shea. I think he's the biggest factor in the turnaround. I think the only other team that could have weathered an 0-4 start and been in first place is probably the Alouettes.
Yeah.
I may not, and that might be that actually, I might not, I don't believe that after the last month that they've been playing. He's been preaching about not even playoff clinching, just about going 1-0 this week. And that's been that dude's mantra since at least they've been to 4 Grey Cups in a row. And while fans were having a big knip shit at the beginning of the year, he was just calm, cool, and collective. And that's his job, obviously. He's never going to buy into the hype, buy into the media hype, but he does it in that special Mike O'Shea way. He's the rock that's been there. He hates guys singing happy birthday to him. He hates guys comparing him to Bud Grant. Just keeping the team focused, loose, composed, whatever, all of those words. He's the best coach in the CFL since Wally Buono, I believe. So I'm saying he's the biggest reason of the turnaround.
Yeah, yeah, and everything in front of the camera. Like, who knows what happens behind the scenes, obviously, right? But in front of the cameras, it's even keel. It's like, okay, yeah, we're 0-4, big deal. We got a veteran squad here. We got guys who know what they need to do. We're gonna end up turning around. Like, it's just that quiet confidence that he knows that his guys know what to do out there, and we'll be able to fix it.
4 more games left in the season. How do you see the rest of the season going for the Bombers? I only see them losing to the Ticats. Something about Hammy. Something about Hamilton. We talked about this before. They go there, something rough happens. Hamilton's feeling real good right now. They're playing for a playoff spot, so I can see an 11-7 finish to the season, and them being in first place.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. We've seen in Hamilton over the last few seasons where they've gone into their riding a high, even last year beating Saskatchewan off the Banjo Bowl, and then going into Hamilton and stinking it up completely. So, yeah, I agree with you on that. Also depends too on Montreal in the last game of the season, or for the Bombers, if Montreal is going to be resting any guys or if they have things wrapped up already too, because that one's in Montreal as well. But I do see Winnipeg being able to beat the Elks. The Toronto game will be tough here as well, but yeah, I could easily see them going 3-1.
After his recent performance, what are your thoughts on Tre Ford now?
You know what? Them starting him, if you were going to start him, you had to ride with him no matter how that game went. But starting him and now benching him, Jarius Jackson, and I thought Jarius Jackson was doing a great job. He had helped turn that team around, but this was a big mistake for him. For one thing, Tre Ford's coming in off injury, hasn't played in multiple weeks, and then you get a bye as well. And now you're going to go start him after all that and expect him to just fire on all cylinders. Like you didn't give him the opportunity to, and you were winning games. You probably should have just stuck with MBT and left it at that. And then if the season got away from you and you were eliminated, go back to Tre Ford. But I feel like they should have stuck with Tre Ford and rode him out for the rest of the season. So the future for him, I mean, that wasn't a good game for him, but I still have faith in this guy being able to turn it around and make it a pretty good CFL career. And hopefully he gets that chance to just start completely and see where that goes.
I am concerned for Edmonton and their quarterback of the future. I really think he needed a full training camp as a starter to see what the possibilities are. So I'm not totally giving up on him right now. I think bringing in an MBT actually stunted his development and probably affected his confidence. So I'm kind of 50-50 on the dude. And it's not because of his passport. Like, I think any athlete with his skill set could be a good CFL QB, but in regards to being a week-to-week starter, I'm not very sure.
Yeah.
Like, we can hope that he's a late bloomer like Vernon Adams, going from team to team, maybe, playing with different coaches and finally figures it out. Maybe, like Vernon Adams has, but I'm 50-50 right now. I'm concerned.
Yeah, the crappy thing with this year is Chris Jones' job was obviously on the line, right? So he went and got MBT. When this should have been probably another season for Tre Ford to play and see if he can do it. If he couldn't do it, then for sure, right? Now there's still questions in the air because he hasn't played a full season here, right? Yeah. And over the last couple of years with Chris Jones, he really hasn't. And when he's looked good, he's ended up getting injured or something happens that he ends up not playing. And then it just spirals from there. So I still hope the guy can turn into something, but I think it'll have to be in a different situation probably next year.
Like a different team.
Yeah. I mean, well, his contract's done in Edmonton, I believe, after this year anyways. So,
jeez.
Yeah. I don't know.
Let's move on to some Bomber fans. Put your comments in the comment section below. Let's move on to Winnipeg Jets talk. Perfetti got the deal done. 2 years, 3.5. Is that right?
3.25, I believe, a year.
There we go.
So 6.5.
Yeah, so that's right. 3 and 3.5. 3.25.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Do you think the Jets made a mistake not going long term? We talked about this a couple weeks ago, and I was looking for a bridge deal. I like the deal. I'm on the side that he needs to prove it for a long-term contract. I'm sorry, but when a player goes on a 20 and a 15 game pointless streak, I don't think they're worthy of a long-term contract yet. And he's also had injury concerns. So I like the bridge for both parties. I'm down with it. Not a mistake.
It depends.
And if he has a breakout year, then you have a year to renegotiate for a long-term.
I mean, apparently they didn't even discuss a long-term deal at all, right? But it depends on what maybe he was looking for. If you could have got him to a long-term deal, like say you signed Ehlers back in the day for $6 million per year kind of thing. If you were looking at that or even 5 or something like that on a long-term deal, I would have been all over that. But obviously I'm not paying the guy $8 million for 8 years or anything like that. But if you could have got a good deal for a long-term, why not? The guy has talent. I can't see him being worse this year than last year, not being able to score at least 20 goals. What I do like, I guess, is the contract is still low, leaves the Jets some room cap-wise in case they are having a good season and need to make a move at the end of the season to bring some guys in. Mm-hmm. I'm just kind of surprised they never really talked long-term deal. But I'm glad the deal's done. I'm glad Fetz is in there. And I mean, in the long run, this could end up being more costly for the Jets. But at the same time, that would be probably a good thing because then at least that means Cole Perfetti has turned into a regular NHL player.
Who would you put on the PP1 and the PP2 power play units?
For me on the PP1, I mean, you're obviously going to have Connor, Scheifele, Velarde, Josh Morrissey, and I'm hoping Ehlers gets a good opportunity to stick on that power play one and show what he can do there because he's been used sparingly there, right? Even last year, they didn't give him the opportunity, brought Monahan in, and he took over right away. Second unit, I mean, if it works, you got Perfetti, Lambert. I would go Niederreiter, Pionk on D, and probably Nemestikov at this point because there's really no one else there that I'd fit in unless you swapped Nemestikov with Iafallo or something like that. But hopefully Lambert ends up having a good enough season that he can kind of be on that second unit as the center.
Yeah, we'll see.
I said hopefully.
Huh?
I said hopefully, but I'm not too gung ho with that second unit, man. I mean, that first unit looks pretty good with those stars in there. That second one, Niederreiter and Nemestikov don't pique my interest too much.
I'd actually like to see Kyle Connor on the second line and put Niederreiter on the back end of the first line. At least spread the talent a bit because it's such a huge drop. And I'm still not all in on Scheifele Connor on any kind of line. I'm sorry. I'm not all in yet. I hope they turn it around this year because that's probably where they're going to start off. And we'll see how that goes. But yeah, like Ehlers in the first line, Morrissey for sure. But I would like to see Niederreiter on the back end as a forward playing defense.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Scheifele, Connor, and Velarde are going to be the top line going into the season. So that doesn't seem to be in question at all. Looks like Scott Ardiel is going that way, the same as Bonus. So yeah, we'll see. And hopefully, though, if it's not going well and they are struggling defensively, that he does not just keep it together because hey, Scheifele and Connor need to be together.
Yeah.
Hopefully he has some stones, to actually make that change if he has to, and not stick to it because hey, Scheifele wants to play with Connor.
We'll see. Top 3 right wings of all time in Jets history.
You want to go or I'll go?
Go ahead.
Are you doing WHA or just sticking to NHL?
This is funny because this dude here said NHL only. I'm like, give me a break. What are the options here then? We're going to have the same ones pretty much. So I'm going to already shout out Anders Hedberg.
All right. So you can use your WHA.
50 goals, 4 years, 458 points. Even though we're not allowed to play WHA, I'm going to pick him because we probably have the same 3.
Who are your okay? Wheeler, Paul McLean, Teemu Selanne.
Of course. Yeah. It's I had to give the shout out to the WHA guys. The pickings were so slim, slim. Here.
The amazing thing is when you look at it, how slim this stuff is for picking Jets in this stuff, right? The drop off in points wise between Wheeler and Paul McLean was crazy, and then Teemu Selanne only played 3 seasons here,
4 memorable seasons.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Where's that statue, bruh?
Yeah, and he's considered one of our best right wingers of all time, even though he barely played here. Patrick Laine is kind of up there too, and but he was left. Was he left or right? Maybe he was left. But yeah, I mean, he didn't play here much too, but he's up there in points too. So it's crazy. Yeah, my bad. We should have left it with the WHA as well. Because I said to leave out the WHA, but we should have left the WHA in there.
Even with WHA, he got Hedberg in there. Is also a drop off after that.
Yeah.
So we've named them all pretty much. There's your 4 lines, right wings. I guess Wheeler's in the 4th line.
Wheeler would be the top guy there, points wise, anyways, for the Jets.
You're gonna take Wheeler over Selanne?
I'm saying points wise, Wheeler is our top right winger of all time, basically in Winnipeg Jets history. It was just crazy. So yes, I would take Selanne any day over any of these guys. I'd bring them back anywhere. Yeah. So
with that said, I'd probably put Howard Chuck with McLean still.
Yeah, they had a chemistry, those guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't separate them. I put Selanne with any center you want. Scheifele, that's fine. Oh yeah, Scheifele and Selanne would be dope.
As long as Selanne has Housley on the back end, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't need a center. He just needed Housley.
That's crazy. From blue line past center to my goodness, those stretch passes.
Exactly.
Winnipeg Jets fans, put your thoughts in the comments section below. Let's move on to quick shots. Will Craig Dickenson be a coach again? A head coach again?
Probably because that's the CFL. Do I think he should be? Probably not, because I mean, he had good Saskatchewan teams and he couldn't get over the hump. Discipline was not there. But yeah, because it's a CFL, I think he will end up getting a spot again.
I'm going to say yes. And because he's a very capable head coach, he got a team with a Swiss cheese O-line and Fajardo getting beat up to the Western Final twice in a row. And yes, there were disciplinary problems, but also there were scouting problems. They did not have depth. When they got injured, there wasn't anyone there. Like the Bombers get injured, I wouldn't say you can replace anyone, but there's been some depth. Like the receiving core, they're missing Dalton Schoen. And constantly Danny Mack and Ted Gouvet are finding depth. They keep losing guys in the secondary. Constantly they're finding guys to replace them. Saskatchewan did not have that for Craig Dickenson. He was in a horrible spot, but brought them to the West Final, like I said twice. I talked too much for quick shots, so yes, I think he should get a chance. How will Redblacks do with Masoli at starter this week?
I think very well. I mean, he came in last week against Montreal and had put up some good numbers, 218 yards, touchdown. And Montreal's got a tougher D than Saskatchewan. So, you know, I think he'll do okay. And I hope he does, you know, because I want to see Masoli back out there and finish off his CFL career on a high note.
That'd be a sweet story, eh? Make it to the Grey Cup. Dang. I don't think
and
it's
lose
a
to
good
the
matchup
Bombers,
for him.
though, right? So
of course, I don't think it's a good matchup for him. It's on the road. Ottawa has been totally different on the road, and it's Saskatchewan coming off a win. Yeah, you know, it's Calgary, but still, they're coming off a win, being at home, fighting for a playoff spot. I don't think this is a good time for Masoli to return, but we'll see. I'm cheering for him.
Saskatchewan's giving up a lot of yards in the air, though. So,
what QBs are you taking in your All-CFL West and East All-Stars? I'm going to go Caleros Fajardo. Nothing crazy from either QB, but that's the two I'm going with.
Yeah, I probably in the West, I'd probably take Trevor Harris right now. Dude's having a pretty good season, even after being injured, still putting up 290 yards per game average. So that, you know what? I'm going to take Bo. I'm going to take Bo in the East because he has been playing well, leads the league in yards and everything like that, and touchdowns. So yeah, good bounce back season for him.
Absolutely having a good year. Will Ovi break Gretzky's record this year?
No. 42 goals away. I think he'll break it maybe next year, but he was under 40 last year, so I don't think he'll end up doing it this year. Dude's getting a little bit older, slowing down a little bit, so no.
Under 40 last year, he had 31 on a team that was really not good and had a very slow start. So I'm going to say yes, they have retooled, and maybe this is the time for what's his face?
ELD
Dubois to open it up. They're deeper than last year when they just snuck into the playoffs. So I'm going to say yes, this is the year he breaks it.
Might not need to rely on him as much this year, though, either. Now that they got some more depth kind of guys in there, so we'll see. I'm not even
going to follow that team. Benny, you have anything to say to our friends? Shoot. Old rivals, man. That's passing the Southeast Conference. Done. I'm done with them.
You know what? Thanks a lot for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and follow, and go Bombers go.
I do miss watching Ovi. When we had season tickets, I got to see him a couple times.
Yeah, you got to see him a lot. You got to see him crush the Jets a lot.
Well, you know, maybe that's why I'm sick of him. I don't want to see his face ever again, but I'm cheering for him. Oh, and in the meantime, and in between time, because I'm still in Calgary. That's it. Another edition. I love this city. Remember what I was talking about earlier?
Yes.
Another edition of Ray and Benny Talk Sports.
Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.